Thank you. You can be seated. Your next question.
Mr. Depp, before the break, we were talking about how your finger got injured in Australia. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to pull up Defendant's Exhibit 394, please. Mr. Depp, do you recall Mr. Rottenborn showing you this exhibit during your cross-examination?
Yes, I do.
And can you please explain when, relative to your finger injury, you sent this text message?
That's the day before. Am I correct?
At the bottom, it says, I cut the top of my finger off. What should I do? Except, of course, go to a hospital.
Australia, exactly. The time difference, sorry. Yes. That's what I said.
And so when, relative to when your finger was injured, did you send this text message, to your best recollection?
This looks like it's at the time to me.
And in the middle here, it says, her obsession with herself is far more important. She's so fucking ambitious. She's so desperate for success and fame. That's probably why I was a choir mate. What did you mean by that?
Unfortunately, I meant exactly what I said in this text. It seems it had become clear that there were she seemed to take more care and importance in going on auditions, going to the Met Ball, or going to any sort of premiere or opening or whatever, where she could be
Beyond the scope of the question, Your Honor.
All right.
Sorry?
I believe he was responding to what he meant by what he wrote in his text
And
message
then
to
he said
Dr.
I meant exactly what the word said, and now he's going beyond
All
the
right,
scope.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Thank you, Mr. Rottenborn.
Your
Sir,
Honor,
if you could just answer the question, Mr. Depp, please.
Certainly,
Direct your
sir.
attention just to your attorney, okay?
Sorry, Your Honor.
Mr. Depp, last week, Mr. Rottenborn showed you an audio recording where you referenced your finger getting cut off in Australia. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to play a different portion of that recording that came before the portion that Mr. Rottenborn played. So if we could please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 343, and we will be playing the portion from at 1 hour, 54 minutes, 11 seconds to 1 hour, 56 minutes, 10 seconds.
It's early, it's quick, it's so not, you're not interested in not fighting. You are guaranteeing a fight. When you do that, and I've told you this so many times, you guarantee, if you were interested in not fighting, you would be respectful if you needed the space to make, you would be careful not to perpetuate the fight longer by saying, I need a few minutes, and then actually honoring that. How can I trust you that it will be a few minutes when you've done this in the past and disappeared for hours? You know, I got mad at you in Australia about this. I said, baby, I want to trust you. It's hard for me not to try and work it out. If you want to be the person that's like, I need to cool down, help me do that, give that to you. But I can't give it to you if you always let me down and fuck up and forget.
Because I gave you a time limit, because I said I'll be back in 3 minutes. So I'm just...
No, it's
if that
different.
Happens, if it happens...
It's different. You never...
if it happens, I'm just gonna say, look, I need some time. That's it.
I'm telling you, that will make it worse.
No.
I guarantee you it will.
If you're stuck in throwing punches.
I'm not talking about throwing punches. I'm talking about an argument.
Right. In arguments, you tend to throw punches.
I'm talking about arguments. I'm not talking about the times when it's got physical. I'm talking about arguments. I'm talking about arguments. I'm talking about arguments.
Yes,
Talking
in our
about
argument.
fights. Earlier and earlier and earlier. Now you split. You take off right away. You don't deal with the issue. You don't deal with the confrontation, and you split. Whether it is, and then you do it for an undeterminate amount of time. You do it without actually respecting. When you do give me a time, like say I need a few minutes, you never.
Mr. Depp, whose voices can you hear in that audio recording?
Ms. Hurd and myself.
And there was a mention about Ms. Hurd getting mad about something in Australia. What did Ms. Hurd get mad at you about in Australia?
There were many instances where Ms. Hurd would get upset, angry, and argumentative and violent in Australia. There were many times. The one that was the day when my tip of my finger disappeared, that had to do with a phone call. When she arrived in Australia, she complained that an attorney who was explaining to her
Objection, Your Honor, is hearsay as to what he alleges her attorney was explaining to her. That's clearly
We
hearsay.
can move on, Your
Okay,
Honor.
yes, ma'am.
In the context of this audio recording that we just heard, what, to your understanding, is Ms. Hurd referencing when she says you split?
I would excuse myself from the situation. I would try to get away so that nothing escalated. Because if given the chance to allow things to escalate, Ms. Hurd would take it to the very extreme, which ended up with my finger being chopped off. So I rather thought it was the best idea to avoid things like that.
Mr. Depp, I'd like to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 272. I believe this is another document that you saw during your cross-examination. Do you recognize these text messages?
Yes,
And these were after your detox on the island, is that right?
that's correct.
Now, where it says here, this was the right thing to do to speed up the process, what are you referring to there?
When we were on the island and I was going through the process of detoxing from the opiates, which was a very unpleasant and powerful, painful process. It wasn't working with Miss Hurd there. I could not properly detox, as every day was another problem or this or that. So I asked that we leave the island and go back to Los Angeles And I asked Ms. Hurd if she would please allow me to get a bungalow at the Beverly Hills Hotel where she and her friends could go for, I needed 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, anything I could get where I could finish the detox by myself without any unnecessary interruptions or unpleasant interruptions. To which she replied that she was felt like I was throwing her out and abandoning her, and after all she had done for me, when the fact is, though, no matter what I wrote to her mother and to her, I needed the time, because I would have gone straight back to the pills. I would have not been able to detox properly without that time alone. And she reluctantly gave me the time. And I sent her and her friends to Beverly Hills Hotel and in a bungalow, and went through the detox by myself in Penthouse 3 for the next 5 or 6 days.
Mr. Depp, last week, Mr. Rottenborn showed you a video that was taken of yourself where you're slamming some cabinets. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
First of all, where are you in that video?
That's the kitchen at a house that I've on Sweetser that I've lived in since mid-90s.
And do you recall what you were upset about in that video?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
I don't recall, as I don't know the date of, there's no metadata that I am aware of for that tape. Also, apparently looking for any metadata is impossible, as it is
Your
now
Honor,
owned
beyond the
by...
scope of the
I'll
question.
sustain the objection. You want to ask the question
Mr.
again?
Depp, what do you remember, what, if anything, do you remember being upset about that resulted in what was seen in that video?
I can't recall if it was bad news about my mother's health. I can't recall if it was something to do with my former business managers, you know, finding out that they'd taken me for a very nasty ride. I don't recall exactly what it was about. What I do know is that it didn't have anything to do with her.
Objection beyond the scope of the question.
Overruled, I'll allow it. It's fine.
There was nothing between us before she entered that room. It was me alone.
Okay. Do you know where Ms. Hurd was before she entered the room?
I assume that she was up in the, you know, she'd gotten out of bed and gotten dressed and come downstairs.
Mr. Depp, earlier today, Mr. Rottenborn played a recording where you can hear Ms. Hurd seeming to claim that you put a cigarette out on her. Do you remember that?
I remember hearing that, yes.
I'd like to play you another recording, which is Plaintiff's Exhibit 365.
Okay.
And this is, for the record, an 11-second recording, so we'll be putting in the entire.
All right. Any objection to 365?
No, Your Honor.
All right, 365 in evidence.
Couch. 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 You give me one couch. I gave you 3 other couches. 2 couches. Give me one, please. Please, give me a couch.
What do you want?
Couch.
Couch, right? What do you want?
I want couch.
We don't have to shake hands.
I want couch.
Couch.
Agree, please, though. You said you agreed
Couch,
before we
agreed.
started talking. I want to stop fighting.
Have I been fighting?
Yes.
Your Honor, she said this was
Everything
11
you said has
seconds.
been nasty and provoking and mean-spirited
Not you.
and meant. No, I'm not saying that. You asked.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I think I misspoke. I may have been 45. I may have misremembered.
So
It's
it
a,
was 11 seconds long, and that went way longer.
I apologize, I misremembered.
All right, it's in evidence.
It might help if could we ask them to move the media player so we can see it too? Because we just have a blank screen, so.
Okay, it's
Well,
45
that's just
seconds.
probably because we didn't publish it. There you go. Okay. Okay.
Can we play that? Thank you.
Couch. 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 You give me one couch. I gave you 3 other couches. 2 couches. Give me one,
You
please.
don't pay attention to it.
Please, give me couch.
What do you want?
Couch.
Couch, right? What do you want?
I want couch.
We don't have to speak now.
I want couch.
Couch.
Agree, please, though. You said you agreed
Couch,
before we
agreed.
started talking. You want to stop fighting?
Have I been fighting?
Yes. Everything you've said has been nasty and provoking and mean-spirited.
Not yours.
And no, I'm not saying that. You asked me yours. By the way, you just threw a fucking cigarette on me.
Mr. Depp, do you recognize what's in that recording?
Do I recognize what's in the recording?
Yes.
Seems pretty clear that she's ordering me to the couch. And I didn't want to go through with any, again, avoiding confrontation, trying to avoid confrontation in any way. I can certainly say that without hesitation, there is no way under the sun that I would flick a cigarette at her or burn her with a cigarette. If I flicked ashes and an ash got on her, but she's certainly not screaming out in pain as if a cigarette is being put out on her. That's ludicrous.
Do you recall the situation that's reflected in that audio recording?
I believe that's Montreal, Toronto, which was right after the Venice Film Festival. We were at the Toronto Film Festival.
Mr. Depp, I'd like to ask you about a couple text messages from May 22nd, 2016 that Mr. Rottenborn asked you about earlier.
Yes.
And before I do, could you please remind the jury what was going on between you and Ms. Heard on May 22nd, 2016?
On May 22nd, on May 21st, I hadn't seen her since the 22nd of April, her birthday, which was when I left at 4:30 in the morning. I believe,
Objection, Your Honor. This is cumulative. He's already gone through all of this in his direct examination, and she asked him what was happening on May 22nd, and he's getting into what happened on May 21st. We've already been through this.
I believe that he's providing context for where they
I think
were
we
on the
can- we can
22nd,
go to
but
the 22nd.
if you could, Mr. Depp, please explain where you were on the 22nd of May in 2016.
as far as I can remember, on May 22nd, 2016, I was preparing to leave for New York for rehearsals and then a tour with the Hollywood Vampires. I was either preparing to leave or I had left.
Could we please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 736, please? And do you recall sending this text message to Ms. Heard on May 22nd, 2016 at 6:19 p.m.
Yes, I do.
What did you mean when you told her nothing I have to say to you should elicit anything but a sense of ease?
It was essentially, for me, I was bringing up what I'd spoken to her about before, which was a peaceful resolution to the problems, a peaceful resolution in terms of a peaceful and private and quiet and calm divorce. And so that's why I say it shouldn't elicit anything but a sense of ease, because it was not about, I didn't want to argue. I didn't want anything but to end the marriage in the kindest way possible for all, her family, my family, her, myself, etc.
And what did you mean when you said all my love and profound apologies?
Profound apologies is that it just didn't work. We just could not work. There was no way. And I had to try to put a peaceful end, a peaceful stop to the endless opportunities for these constant arguments. If I didn't put a stop to it, then, I mean, if I didn't try to put a peaceful stop to it, a peaceful end to it, then if you don't stop it yourself, it'll stop you. It'll stop you, and you don't know what that could be, but it was horrific, and I wanted her out of it, and I wanted out of it. No one deserves to live like that. No one deserves to live like that. Not her, not me, not anyone. So I just wanted a smooth exit for both of us. That's all I was looking for.
Mr. Depp, last week, Mr. Rottenborn played a clip from an audio recording where Miss Heard told you that you vomit in your sleep a lot. Do you remember that recording?
Yes, I do.
And what's your response to that?
When someone tells you that you vomit, she didn't tell me. I heard it in court. When someone brings up the fact that you vomit in your sleep every night, and, well, first I think you'd be aware of it. And also, I think the first thing that I would do is seek medical attention. It didn't exist. I'd never vomited in my sleep every night. There were times when I would get, yes, physically ill from the endless shots that you take when you're just, you're unable to take it anymore. And it does affect you physically after a while. So I would have to leave and go and vomit when fights got into these surreal and absurd and horrible places. But it still confounds me as to why she would record that. I don't know why anyone would record that.
Mr. Depp, the clip that Mr. Rottenborn played was from Defendant's Exhibit 839, and just for the record, this is a portion of a larger recording which is reflected in Plaintiff's Exhibit 342. So with the court's permission, I'd like to play a clip from Plaintiff's Exhibit 342. And the portion I'd like to play is at 19 minutes, 40 seconds to 25 minutes, 25 seconds.
Right, do we have 342 already in evidence, or?
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
No, so you want to put 342, which is just the entire audio in?
Yes, I don't
Evidence.
believe that there's anyone else in this audio recording, Your Honor.
I don't believe, I hear this before. Okay, 342, any objection?
As long as there's no one else in the audio recording, no objection.
We can confirm afterwards, so if Your Honor would, if it's more comfortable, we can put it in as 342A.
Okay, and what was the, let's put 342A, and what's the, I'm sorry, what's the part that you're going to?
It's 19 minutes, 40 seconds to
Okay.
25 minutes, 25 seconds.
All right, and there's just the two of them in this excerpt, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, that's 342A in evidence, then, thank you.
I don't care.
Do you understand why 10 minutes downstairs
I don't care.
didn't seem real?
I don't care.
Did you hear what I said?
I don't care. I don't care.
You do.
There's plenty of things you've done, plenty of things you've fucking done that were absolute fucking lies.
I didn't
I'm not even
ever.
talking to you about it. So anyway, I'm leaving. So I'll see you in a bit. Yeah?
Is that what matters?
Your lies?
Is this what matters to you, your party?
Your lies, I
I never led you. And what we're talking about tonight is what? Who are you? Why? Why are you doing this?
I'm leaving. I'll be back.
Why?
So I'm leaving.
What is it that is so important always to run away to? Why?
It's a runaway, yeah. I run because I'm a cop.
Why don't you stay? You asked me once not to leave, and I'm asking you. So why every 5 seconds do I get, I'm leaving because there's a fucking movie party I gotta go to? I have never prioritized you behind that. And you, of all people, all this talk about not being that guy, you have done nothing but over the last 2 days but tell me that your movie parties were more important, including the night before last. When I said to you the same thing, stay. And today you apologize, said I love you, I'm so sorry. And then today it takes you 2 seconds. It takes you 20 seconds at most to go, fuck that, I hate you, I don't want to be with you, goodbye, I'm leaving, I'm running away. But I'm not running, I'm walking away.
Well, the one thing is for sure, I don't want to be with you. I don't. I really don't.
Then if you don't want to be with me in life,
Goodbye.
then you need to actually do it. You need to actually take off your ring and forget that 5 hours ago you said the opposite. Otherwise, you can't keep throwing that around. You can't keep saying to me that this is something you care about.
I do.
Is that what it's worth to you?
Yeah. Yeah. For you, from all this bitching, from all these rules, all these.
Rules? Because I asked you to stay?
Because
Because I asked you to stay.
No, because you're fucking.
What was it?
heartbeat.
What was it when you asked me to
Because you're a
stay?
pain in the ass.
What was it when you asked
I
me to
can't
stay?
stand it. No.
What was it when you asked me to stay? In Australia, you said you promised me not to leave. You said you promised me not to leave. What did I do?
I thought you would change.
What did I do?
Not change.
What did I do?
Not change.
Did I stay or did I leave?
You changed.
Did I stay or did I leave?
You stayed and you didn't change and you were a fucking
I stayed.
pain in the ass and you were a cunt.
So I stayed. And I've been a cunt ever since, which is why you told me
Pretty much.
about every other day how you couldn't imagine your life without me, including today. So,
When
which
you
guy,
cra-
does that seem normal to
When
you?
you're
Does that
crazy,
seem
right?
normal to you? You told me tonight that you couldn't imagine your life without me, and now you're throwing your ring on the ground. Does that seem normal?
Let's have you tell me.
That seems sober? You seem normal?
The definition of normal. You.
Does that seem normal?
You.
Does that seem normal to you?
Borderline personality disorder.
I'm borderline personality disorder now.
Without question.
When I've been consistent all night saying, don't go, don't fuck this all up. I'm not fighting with you anymore. I've been saying this to you the whole night. I'm really sorry we disagreed. You're not perfect. I said this 2 hours ago. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect.
I love that you put
But
me
we don't
first.
have to do this every time we disagree.
No. No, we don't. We do.
Please.
We do.
Please, come here.
And you have
Please come
every
here.
insult.
Please come here. I'm not insulting you. I have not been insulting you.
Back.
I love you. Johnny, what do you need me to do? I love you. Stop.
Smack me on the ear again.
I love you.
Smack my ear again. So it fucking resounds in my fucking cranium. You like that?
I love you.
Huh?
I'm sorry. I love you.
I love you too. No. No. I don't love you that much. No, I don't. I do not love you that much. To give up myself? No. Do not. I will not give up myself. And you want me to fucking be some kind of cursed goddamn parrot or a fucking weird frenzied dog? No, I won't be it. You know?
Frenzied dog. I'm trying to talk
Or
to
your goddamn
Calm.
fucking lover,
Calm
Tasia
down.
Fantasia.
Calm
I'm not gonna be that shit, man.
Baby, stop.
No, I don't want to be with you.
Baby,
If these are the fucking
stop.
rules, fuck that.
Rules. You're making this whole thing. You're doing this whole thing yourself. No one's fighting me.
I'm making this up. That, above all else, is an insult.
Mr. Depp, what are you and Ms. Heard discussing in this recording?
It is another argument that is apparently not an argument to her. The screeching of her voice, the demand that things go her way and only her way. I was done, and I think I stated clearly, I don't want to be with you. I don't want to be with you. I'm not going to be a parrot on a, or some, you know, little dog that runs through hoops for you. I ain't going to do that. And I wanted out. She said, take your ring off. She still wouldn't let me leave. I did, and she still wouldn't let me leave. So it's just another example of kind of being nailed in one spot and not allowed to do anything but react to her screaming and screaming like a banshee and then telling me to calm down when I had been pretty calm, I thought.
Where were you trying to go, if you can recall?
Anywhere, away.
And why did you ask Ms. Heard if she wanted to smack you in the ear again?
She had given me a good chop in the ear, you know, one of those where leaves you ringing, you know. And it was not long before that, and so I thought, maybe this will make you happy. Will it make you happy to, would you like to hit me in the ear again? Would that make you feel better? Will that make you stop this? Would have done anything to have stopped. Outside of taking anything to some physical level. I disagreed with that wholeheartedly. That's not me. It's not who I've ever been. It's not who I'll ever be.
Mr. Depp, I'm going to play another audio recording. This is a different portion from what Mr. Rottenborn played for you today. It's DX 598. I believe the portion Mr. Rottenborn played was designated 598B, so this will be 598C.
Okay.
And first, I'd like to play the portion from 31 minutes, 14 seconds to 33 minutes, 4 seconds.
Any objection to 598C?
No, Your Honor.
And then we will go on and play the second portion, which is 56 minutes, 27 seconds to 59 minutes, 54 seconds.
Okay. All right, 598C in evidence.
You know, and it builds, right? Like you build, I build, you know, it isn't like at one moment either of us sign a certificate of saying, or like sign the contract or say, okay, now I'll bloodbath. No. So acting as though there's a choice between the two is irrelevant. I'm not asking you to stay over having a bloodbath. I'm asking you, over walking away. I'm not asking you to have a bloodbath over walking away. I'm asking you to work it out over prolonging it and making it bigger.
Right, but
at least that's how I see it.
Indeed.
You know?
But if things get heated,
Yeah.
and it looks like it's going somewhere nasty, and the name calling begins, and all that stuff, I've got to get away. Because I don't want to be ever in a situation again like that. Never.
Me too. Me too.
Never. So
Me too.
that's don't freak out if we do have a fight and I walk away.
I'm not going to do that. I'm asking you to stay when you feel you are also in the interest of working it out.
I think it's a good idea for us to take a moment or two, take some time. Take some time to think by ourselves without being, barraged by each other's fucking bullshit whatevers. Let's take a break from it, and then come back, try and be calm, and walk through the thing. But I'm not gonna stand and fight with you. I will not. You can call me a coward.
I don't
You can
want
call
that.
me anything you want. All those names, do it. But I will not do it again.
Please stop asking. Please, can you stop for the sake of this conversation?
No, I'm just saying I won't do it again. That's all. Okay, great. Then let's take our space, and let's not do this anymore. Because I'm really getting frustrated. And I'm really, really, really sick of this argument.
Stop. I'm sorry.
Okay? So let me go, and you go, and I'll speak to you in a couple hours. Okay? Okay?
Stop. Okay.
Why are you saying stop?
Because
May
you're being
I
so-
go?
Please, it causes me so much stress when you leave, when you walk away from me with that. It's like you don't understand how much worse you're making this.
I can't believe this.
Please, you're making it worse for me.
Okay, I'm sorry for you.
Please, I'm only trying to tell you so that you know you're causing me immense stress right now when you walk away like that. There's no reason to be mad.
Well, then say goodbye. I haven't walked away. You're not saying goodbye. You won't let me fucking leave. Let me
Oh my
leave.
God. Stop rushing me! Stop pushing me in the corner and then poking me with a stick and then saying, why aren't you saying the words you want me to say? Stop poking me! Stop rushing me! Stop throwing me against the wall and going, what? You don't like that wall? You don't like the fucking wall? Stop pushing me!
Remember, I'm not pushing you. I'm not rushing you. I said, I need space. I don't want this conversation anymore right now. I need space. And I will take my space. Whether you like it or not, I will take it. And you will take your space. But if you keep halting
I'm not doing anything
this
to you.
and continuing
I'm
with
not
the rhetoric.
continuing it. I'm begging you to stop.
I don't. Okay, stop. I'm stopped. Stop. Now I have to go. Okay? So we will speak to each other in a couple of hours. Okay? I'll give some kind of revelation that makes you feel better. You know? I hope I do too. But we'll just see when I get home. We'll just talk, or we won't talk, or we'll finish this, or we won't finish it. But this is not love. This is not happiness. This is not.
Please stop doing this. Please, you're causing so much fucking stress. I'm gonna die at this age. I'm gonna fucking die. You're causing me so much stress. Please stop. Please, I feel like I have a heart attack almost every day. Please stop. Please
then what are you
stop
doing?
doing it. Please stop. He's so fucking mean.
Why
You're
are
a
you
fucking
with me?
bully. Stop. Please stop. I've been begging you not to fight. I just said, can we please have a normal argument? Just even a normal conversation, fucking normal argument. And for the last hour, I've been begging you to please just leave it at that. Let's just go on with our night. I would have been able to come in with you. We would have been able to let it go in a few minutes. It would have been fine. It would just, if we allowed ourselves to have fucking normal arguments. Please, you're killing me with this. You're killing me. You're fucking killing me. Fuck.
Sean, could you, please, I want you to just go. I want you to take your medicine or whatever. I'm sorry that I've upset you
Yeah,
this much.
Thank you, Sean. I'm ready to go. Thank you so much.
I'm really.
Mr. Depp, in the beginning, well, first of all, do you know where you are when you're having this discussion with Ms. Heard?
The only, excuse me, the only clue that I have is that Sean is being called. I'd called Sean and said to drive her home, or I believe it was probably at Sweetser, so then she could drive back, he would drive her back to downtown House 3 with, she didn't seem in any shape to drive to me.
And earlier in the clip, there was a reference to a bloodbath. What does that mean in the context of that conversation?
I don't know. Again, it seems like some word that was, it became
Objection,
part
Your
of
Honor. He said he doesn't know.
All right, I'll sustain objection. Next question.
Mr. Depp, at the end of the day on Thursday, Mr. Rottenborn played an audio recording for you where you were heard saying you were going to hurt yourself. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and I'm not going to play that audio recording again. It seemed upsetting to you, but I do want to ask you a couple questions about that, okay?
Sure.
Could you please tell the jury when that recording is from?
That recording is from July of 2016. This was a few months after the restraining order had been put on me. I had been on tour through Europe, and then coming through the States, I got messages from Christian Carino, who was both of our former agent, saying that Ms. Heard wanted to meet with me in San Francisco because we had one of our last dates on the tour was San Francisco. And I was confused as to why Ms. Heard wanted to meet with me, especially since I was under a court order not to come within, I don't know, 100, 200 feet or something of her. So at first I said...
Objection, Your Honor. The question was simply, do you remember when that was from? It's beyond scope.
Okay. So where were you when that recording was taken?
That was in San Francisco at a hotel room. So we went to a hotel room so that we could finish the discussion that you wanted to have with me.
And how did that discussion go?
Not particularly well. I was quite confused as to why I had been summoned to her at that point, since all the news was just about the fact that I had allegedly done all these horrible things to her, and so I was talked into going there. I went and met with her in hopes that she would retract her lies that the world was now had been fed, and in no way was she ready to do that, and I couldn't understand why I was there. Everything had been taken from me. My children couldn't escape the fact that all this had gone down. So
Objection,
I was.
Your Honor, the question was, how did the discussion go? And he's talking about his children. It's way beyond the scope.
Just talking.
Sir, just wait for the objection.
I think he's describing the context around that conversation.
All right.
It's way beyond the scope of the
All
question.
right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Mr. Depp, why were you threatening to hurt yourself in that audio recording?
In fact, I wasn't threatening to hurt myself. I thought that Ms. Heard had brought me to San Francisco. At that point, it was clear she was under false pretenses. I don't know what she was after. So I had a knife in my pocket, and I just took the knife out and I said, "Here, cut me." That's what you want to do. Ultimately, you've taken everything. You want my blood? Take it. Have my blood. And then she said, "No, no." And then I said, "Look, if you're not going to take it, you want it. I know you want it. That's all I've got left. Take it." If she wasn't going to do it, I would have done it, because that's psychologically, emotionally where I was. I was at the end. I was broken. Not only had I had to deal with everything from coming in from, arrows from all over the world, but now I don't know what she was trying to do. So I just thought the only answer is, here, cut me, take my blood. That's all I've got left to give you. Obviously, there was no threat to Ms. Heard with that knife. It was about spilling my blood, because I thought that's what the only thing she didn't have at that point. And I was broken and really just at the end. I couldn't take it anymore. I thought everybody, I know that that's his job, but that was quite a cruel.
Objection, Your Honor, we're well beyond the
All
scope.
right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Finally, I'd like to play a portion from Plaintiff's Exhibit 357, specifically the portions at 18 minutes, 43 seconds through 21 minutes, 46 seconds.
357, is that correct?
357, yes.
All right, so is this going to be another one where it's going to be an A, or is this going to be all that's going to be offered?
Why don't we go with A to
We're
be
going
safe?
with A. Okay, could you give me the numbers again, just so I have them for the record? What are you going to play?
It is 357, beginning at 18 minutes, 43 seconds through 21 minutes, 46 seconds.
All right, any objection to 357A? All right, 357A in evidence.
It's been going on too long, Amber. Hey, we just gotta stop this. Just gotta stop it.
I don't know how to get my reputation back.
We write a letter together.
That means
Saying that we're going to take this out of the public eye, saying that we're going to try and work this out on our own, saying that the media has created such a fucking hateful storm that it's sickening, that we love each other, and that we want to make sure each other is okay. Have we had fights in the past? Have we had this or whatever? Fuck it, they already know all that shit. Don't matter. Here's the deal.
no, it matters. It makes. You have no idea. Every ounce of my credibility has been taken from. I mean, and done so in a dishonest way. You know.
Amber, the abuse thing is we've got to deal with that. Yeah. We've got to deal with that,
Amber. I don't have
Amber.
any way of my credit. It's my credibility. You know, and I don't.
And why did you put that out there?
I did not. You forced me. Your team forced me to by going on the offense.
I didn't force you to.
From the very beginning. I promise. Look up the timelines to these things. Everything is. Forget it. Forget it. You don't believe what I say. You don't believe what I say. But I did not choose this. You got every step of the way. It's been an offense.
I did not put this anywhere. I didn't. Let me talk to the fucking team.
I did not call the cops. I gave them no statement.
IO called the
I did
cops.
not call the cops.
You told IO to call the cops.
I did not call the cops, and I did not give them any statement when they came. I've been trying to protect you.
You told IO to call the cops.
While it was happening?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, because the last time that it got crazy between us, I really did think I was going to lose my life, and I thought you would do it on accident. And I told you that. I said, oh my God, I thought the first time.
Amber, I lost a fucking finger, man. Come on. I had a mineral can, a jar of can of mineral spirits thrown at my nose.
You can please tell people that it was a fair fight and see what the jury and judge think. Tell the world, Johnny. Tell them, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, man, I'm a victim too of domestic violence, and
Yes.
I know it's a fair fight. And see how many people believe or side with you.
It doesn't matter if it's a fair fight. My ass.
Exactly, because you're.
Mr. Depp, when did you have the conversation reflected in this recording with Ms. Heard?
I don't recall exactly when it was.
What's your best estimate?
My best estimate is that it was long before quite a while before the meeting in San Francisco in July. Excuse me.
How far after May 21st, 2016 do you think that conversation was?
Objection, calls for speculation. He's already said he doesn't remember when it was.
I'm asking for his best estimate.
I'll allow it if you can answer it. That's fine.
Sorry, could you ask it again? I was distracted.
How long after May 21st, 2016 do you believe that conversation took place?
I would say that it was not too far, maybe a couple of months. It was far enough to where the world media was already bombarding me. So it was an attempt to try to make all the,
Objection, Your Honor, beyond the scope.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
What are you referring to when you said you and Ms. Heard will write a letter together?
I was trying to make a peaceful settlement.
And what are you referring to when you say you lost a finger?
A very large bottle of vodka severing my my middle finger in Australia.
And what were you referring to when you said a can of mineral spirits was thrown at your nose?
One of the arguments on the island where Miss Heard had been howling at me with some argument, and she picked up a can of mineral spirits about yay big and just heaved it at me, and it struck me on the bridge of the nose, and right there, you know.
And when did you first notice those?
On the plane towards coming into land, you know, we're gathering the stuff up. I noticed them then.
What did you do after you landed in Los Angeles?
Once I'd fired up my phone on landing, I saw the arrangements that we would be picked up by one of Mr. Depp's security personnel, who I think was Travis McGivern. So I made contact with him, and he met us in the place that had been arranged. We walked through the arrivals lounge and met him at the end of that. Got in the car with him and drove to the Eastern Columbia building.
And how would you describe Miss Heard's demeanor in Los Angeles?
Yeah, pretty calm. I mean, she seemed, obviously a lot calmer from the house, but she pleasant towards Travis, certainly in the car. Obviously, they knew each other. When we got to the building, she was kind enough to show me around the apartment. I'd never been before. She showed me around the penthouse, a little tour. She wrote down some restaurants recommendations because she knew I'd be staying a few days, probably. So, and I don't really know LA that well. So she recommended a few restaurants. And then I left. I said, if you need anything, as usual, as I always did, need anything, give me a shout. I'll be staying fairly close by. Just give me a call or a text.
How long were you in LA?
Less than a week. I think I flew back to Australia on the 14th or 15th. So about 5 days, 6 days tops.
And when you got back to Australia, what were you doing?
Pretty much putting the house back together, repairing all the damage with the help of professional contracted vendors I brought in, and just getting the house back as it was originally.
At some point, did Mr. Depp and Miss Heard return to Australia?
Yes, they did.
Were you there when they returned?
Yes.
Did you observe them interacting with each other after they came back to Australia?
Yes, yeah.
And how would you describe their interactions?
Again, initially, those first few days were certainly very pleasant, almost honeymoon-like, I would say. It strolled around the grounds a bit, and they seemed fine with each other.
Did you ever observe any arguments after they returned?
Yes. I mean, many. Several more, yeah.
And how would you describe those?
Not dissimilar to the London arguments in terms of the pattern of those, the sort of provocation and the reaction that leave the room, Mr. Depp leaving the room, going to another room, playing his guitar, seemed to follow the same pattern as that, as I witnessed those 2 times in London.
All right. Nothing further.
All right, cross-examination.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So to understand your testimony, is it your testimony that Amber and Mr. Depp arrived together in Australia in February of 2015?
Initially, together, I don't think so. I think Mr. Depp arrived ahead of Ms.
Right,
Heard, actually.
Mr. Depp arrived first, correct?
I think so, yeah.
And isn't it true that Ms. Heard, Amber didn't arrive until March 5th, 2015 to Australia?
I can't remember the date she arrived, to be honest.
But she could have arrived March 5th, 2015. Isn't that true?
Objection, foundation, speculation.
I'll allow it if you can answer it.
Sorry, what was the question?
Ms. Heard could have arrived on March 5th, 2015, correct?
It's possible, I suppose.
And isn't it true then that you didn't see any arguments between Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp before the injury that occurred to Mr. Depp's finger in Australia?
I saw them argue.
You saw them argue when they came back, in April, correct?
I certainly saw them argue in April and through most of the months they were there, yes.
But you don't remember, you can't recall any arguments in February or March of 2015 between Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp, correct?
Specific days? Not necessarily, no.
Right, so that you don't know, you can't say that there were any arguments before you came to the house on March 8th, 2015, correct?
I think there were, I mean...
Excuse me, say that again?
I think there were.
But you don't even know when she arrived, correct?
Specifically, the day, not necessarily, no.
Okay. And you said when you arrived at the house on March 8th, when you eventually found the finger, it was wrapped in paper, is that right?
Wrapped, I mean, it was loosely wrapped. The paper was opened by that point. The blood had dried up and it was sitting in the sort of nest of this paper, yes.
So like someone had put the finger in a piece of paper?
I don't know. I mean, it was in that piece of paper.
It was in a piece of paper, okay. So, but again, like someone had wrapped it up, is that right?
I don't know. It was within that scrunched up piece of paper, kitchen paper, tissue.
So it was in kitchen paper, is that right?
Or tissue paper. It was white with a lot of blood on it.
So like a paper towel?
Like a piece of kitchen towel.
When you say kitchen towel, our language is made, even though we both speak English, I may say a little different. It's like a paper towel?
Yeah, like kitchen paper, kitchen towel, yes,
okay.
Like a tissue.
And was there that sort of paper towel in the kitchen at the house at the time?
Yes, in both areas, the kitchen and the bar.
Okay. You said you were in Australia starting in February of 2015, correct?
Correct. I arrived on the 4th of February.
And Mr. Depp arrived sometime after that, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Did you see Marilyn Manson while you were there?
No, I didn't.
You don't know if Mr. Depp was with Marilyn Manson in late February, early March 2015?
Objection, foundation, speculation, relevance.
I'm just asking if he said he saw him every day, so I was asking if he saw.
I'll allow the question if you can answer it, that's fine.
Marilyn Manson didn't come to the house. I didn't see him at any point.
Do you know if Mr. Depp left to be with Marilyn Manson?
I don't know. I didn't always know where he was going. If he went out, it was either to work or the security would go with. I wouldn't generally go. In fact, I don't think I went out with him at all in Australia.
And you didn't go out with Mr. Depp at all when he was in Australia, correct?
I don't recall it. I saw him on set once or twice, yeah.
So you don't know what Mr. Depp was doing in Australia unless you saw him at the house or on set, is that right?
I saw him at the house, yes, every day.
But you don't know what Mr. Depp was doing when he left the house, correct?
Generally going to work on Pirates of the Caribbean 5 filming, yes.
But were you with him?
No, but the security with him, and I had to liaise with him for when he would go and when he would come back for the driver, etc.
But you weren't there when Mr. Depp left the house, correct?
Generally, I didn't leave the house with Mr. Depp on those days, no.
And I just want to be clear. There were two kind of periods that Mr. Depp was in Australia in 2015, right?
Sorry, say again.
Mr. Depp was in Australia from sometime in February 2015 until about March 8th, March 9th, when he injured his finger, is that right?
Correct, yeah.
And then Mr. Depp left Australia too, correct?
At some point he flew to LA, yes.
And then Mr. Depp returned to Australia on April 21st, right?
Okay, that sounds about that time. I don't know the specific date, I don't recall.
And the filming of Pirates of the Caribbean 5 continued filming on April 21st, right?
Objection, foundation, speculation.
I didn't get, oh, sorry.
There's objection.
you recall testifying to that in the UK?
I'll overrule
Which
the
bit,
objection
sorry?
if you can answer it.
That the filming of Pirates of Caribbean 5 continued filming on April 21st, 2015.
I wasn't involved in the filming schedule. I didn't know when it resumed, to be honest. I knew Mr. Depp would come back to resume filming, for sure.
You didn't live with Mr. Depp in his house in Australia, correct?
Live with? No, I wasn't resident there.
Now, when you arrived at the house, you saw a significant amount of damage, correct?
Yes, through the course of, after I arrived, yeah.
Okay. And the scene was chaos, correct?
Chaos, I mean, there was a fair amount of damage.
The house was wrecked,
There was a lot of damage in the house, yes.
and the house was not in a good state, correct?
Asked and
There
answered.
was a lot of damage throughout the
You
house.
got to object first, and then you have your objection,
Yeah.
Mr. Mars.
Objection,
Stand, and it
yeah.
helps. Okay. I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead. Next question.
Okay. And you said there was glass on the floor, correct?
In a few areas, mainly predominantly in the bar, yes. Down in the lower ground floor, correct.
Okay, and there was blood on the walls, correct?
In various places, blood on the floor, blood on the walls.
And there was blood on the walls throughout the 3 stories of the house, isn't that right?
No, I wouldn't say that was the extent of it. There were smears up the staircase going up to the master from the main level. There were smears and drips on the carpet.
So there were smears from the master level up to the bedroom area? I mean, from the main level up to the bedroom area, is that right?
Up to the 3rd floor, yes.
Like someone had walked from the main floor up to the bedroom floor, correct?
There was blood going up the steps, up on the staircase, and some on the walls, smears where you might have done that.
As if someone was walking from the main level up to the master bedroom, correct? Is that what the blood was like?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
Or down. I mean,
Up or
there was
down, but
blood
from the
on
main
that
level to
staircase.
from the main level to the 3rd floor, correct?
Correct, yes.
And you said the sofas were damaged, is that right?
One sofa in that sitting room, which was just off the kitchen, was quite an open plan thing. So off that, there was a sofa with a large TV on a wall-mounted TV in front of that sofa.
And the sofa was on the main level, correct?
Correct, just by the main kitchen, exactly.
And where the sofa was damaged, was that with what?
Blood.
Blood, okay. And lights were damaged?
Some lamps, a couple of lamps, yes.
Okay. And there were bottles of alcohol in and out of the fridge, correct?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Did you see bottles of alcohol in and out of the fridge?
Yes, I mean, there was, I don't completely understand what you mean.
You saw that, correct?
There was alcohol bottles, yes. There was, in the fridge, I mean, there may have been a bottle of wine, I don't know.
And the floors were ruined, correct?
Ruined, I mean, there was a lot of damage on the floor, down in the bar area, and the staircase, and on the main floor area, on the wooden parquet floor, correct.
And the floors were going to have to be sanded, correct?
I eventually got them sanded, yes.
Okay. And you were there, I think you testified it took you about 12 to 13 hours in the house cleaning up, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you said that is it your testimony that you didn't see any of the paintings damaged?
The existing paintings from the owners from the house, no, none of them were damaged.
You didn't see any paintings with a painting of a penis drawn on it?
I did not, and thankfully that was something I didn't have to replace.
Do you know if anyone else
any
saw
painting.
Objection, speculation.
I mean, I would have seen it.
Whenever there's objections, Mr. King, you
I'm
just
so
need to
sorry.
stop. That's all
I'm
right.
sorry.
All right, if you stand, we can see you better when you do that.
Understood.
Okay, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay. And you said that Jerry Judge was at the house, correct?
Correct.
And he's the head of Mr. Depp's security, correct?
Correct.
And Dr. Kipper was at the house?
Yes, he was.
And Debbie Lloyd was at the house as well, correct?
Yes, she was.
Okay. Now, you understood that Mr. Judge saw scratches on Ms. Heard on March 8th, correct?
Objection, hearsay, speculation, foundation.
All right. I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Did you have, the cleaning lady was going to be coming to the house, correct?
The housekeeper,
Yes, the housekeeper.
Adele, the resident housekeeper. Yes, she was going to be. I mean, yes, she was employed through the week. Again, she wasn't there on weekends.
There was concern about the cleaning lady coming to the house and seeing everything that was in the house, correct?
Objection, speculation, foundation, vague.
I'll allow it if you can answer it. You can answer it.
Thank you. Concern, sorry. what
There
do
was
you-
concern about the cleaning lady coming to the house and seeing all the damage that had been done, correct?
I know that when I left to fly to LA with Miss Heard, I told both the chef and the housekeeper they didn't need to be coming to the house because Miss Heard, essentially the principals weren't there. Mr. Depp wasn't there. Miss Heard was obviously with me at that point. So I said they didn't need to come to the house.
Isn't it true that you told Mr. Judge that you thought you could get the cleaning lady to swear to silence about what the house looked like?
Objection, hearsay.
It's his own statement.
His own statement. I'll allow it.
Isn't it true that you told Mr. Judge that you thought you could get the cleaning lady to swear to silence about what the house looked like?
I think I probably made a comment about, you know, I should just come back and deal with this myself, if that's what you mean, and just get cleaned up.
And make sure that she wouldn't say anything, correct?
I don't know. I trusted her and the chef anyway. They were good team members.
As the house manager, part of your job is to, you said you work with high profile people, correct?
High profile, high net worth, I think is what I actually said.
Would you agree that one part of your job is to keep things discreet for your clients?
Of course, it's part of my job. Trust and discretion, yeah.
And Mr. Depp was your client, right?
I'd worked on an assignment on those occasions, yes, but I was self-employed at the time, yeah.
But in March 8th, 2015 in Australia, Mr. Depp was your client, correct?
Correct, essentially, yeah. And Miss Heard, both of them the principals.
Who paid, and do you know who paid for your services?
As I said before, I was paid through Disney, who were making the Pirates of the Caribbean, their production company, which I believe was called Herschel.
Okay. And can we put up Defendant's Exhibit 377, which is already in evidence?
All right. You gotta put on, that's here.
Mr. King, do you see Defendant's Exhibit 377 in front of you?
I do, yes.
And do you recognize this as a lampshade that was in the house in Australia on March 8th, 2015?
Yes, it was, I believe, one of the lampshades that was missing from one of the lamps.
Okay. And did you see this painting on the lampshade?
I did, yeah. It was part of my walk around to
Okay.
see
And what floor was the lampshade on?
This was on where the art studio was, on that main level.
Yeah, so on the main level, okay.
Yes. Excuse me.
And was this, did you notice that it was dark paint that was on the lampshade?
It certainly looked like it, yes.
Okay. And did you take this picture?
I believe I did. Yeah, without seeing the metadata.
Okay. And can we put up Defendant's Exhibit 374, please? And you recognize Defendant's Exhibit 374 as a mirror that was in the house in Australia on March 8th, 2015, correct?
Yes, I do.
And this mirror was in the bathroom, correct?
Correct. There were 2 mirrors in the bathroom above each sink.
And this was on the top floor, correct?
The master bathroom,
The master
essentially.
bathroom. And the master bathroom, just so I'm clear, was on the top floor,
Top
right?
floor, correct.
And this painting said starring Billy Bob, is that right? Is that what you recall?
Yeah, I don't know. I was writing.
Okay. And was this in the writing, was it in paint?
I believe it was the same paint, the oil paint that was used on the other mirror that we saw earlier.
Okay. And did you take this picture?
Again, possible. I haven't seen the metadata, but yes, probably.
And let's put back up Defendant's Exhibit 375. This writing was also in the master bathroom, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And could you tell if the black paint was on top of the red or under the red?
I didn't really analyze it, to be honest. I just knew I was going to have to clean it up at some point.
Right, your whole concern was just cleaning up the house, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you don't know who wrote what on the mirror, correct?
No, I know that one was oil paint and the other red writing was lipstick.
And lipstick, you're not even sure of that. You just saw it was something sticky. Is that right?
I'm pretty sure it's waxy, you know, like
Waxy.
lipstick-like, same as the oil paint was oil paint-like.
Okay. Did you see paint? Did you see also any writing in blood?
Writing, no, not necessarily.
Okay. Now, did you help when Miss Heard was leaving to go back to LA? You were with her, correct?
Correct.
Did you help her pack?
I think I may have done at that point, yes, I think I did.
Did you see, weren't Miss Heard's clothes ruined?
I didn't see any ruined clothes.
There wasn't paint on her clothes?
Not that I could see, not so much. Yeah, not at that point of packing, I mean.
There was paint in the tub, correct?
Say again, sorry.
There was paint in the tub in the bathroom, correct?
I don't recall that.
You don't recall one way or the other?
I don't recall being paint in the tub.
And it's your testimony that there was no paint or blood on Miss Heard's clothes, is that what you're saying?
Asked and
I
answered.
don't.
No, I'll allow it.
Okay. Now, you said you were in charge of the cleanup, correct?
Yes, it was my responsibility. The house was.
And you were working with Mr. Judge in cleaning up the house, is that right?
On the day that I arrived there?
Yes.
Mr. Judge did help me at some point, yes, sweeping up glass, etc.
And was there photos taken of more than the three pictures you've been shown?
Photos
Photos of the house.
By whom?
Did you take any pictures of the house?
I took a few, yeah, I mean, yes.
And did you take pictures other than the three that we saw?
I think I probably did as I was going around.
Do you know who you gave those pictures to?
No.
Do you know what you took the photos with?
My phone.
And who would you have sent those photos to?
I didn't send them to anybody at that point.
You just kept them?
Yes.
Did you show the photos to anyone?
No.
Do you still have the photos?
Yes.
Where are they, on your phone still?
They're on one of my devices, yes.
Okay. Did you take a photo of the vodka bottle that you said was broken?
Yes.
And you have that photo?
Yes.
Okay, and you didn't give that to anybody?
There are a fair few photos. I can show it to you now if you want.
How many photos did you have on your phone?
I don't remember the number, but probably more than 10.
Did anyone ever ask you for the photos?
Several of them, yes. Yes.
Did you give them to the people who asked?
Some of them, yes.
Not all of them?
I don't recall how many.
Who asked you for the photos?
I was involved in a case in London a couple of years ago.
Did you give the photo of the vodka bottle to the people that you were involved in the case in London?
Objection, relevance, Your Honor.
Overruled, I'll allow it.
Say again, sorry.
Did you give a photo of the vodka bottle to the people you were working with in London?
I don't recall which photos I gave them to.
So did you take photos of the walls?
The walls, certainly the smears of the blood and the damage, the plaster damage, yes.
You took photos of the walls with blood on it, is that right?
Yes.
And you took photos of the plaster, right, that was damaged?
At the end of the bar and in the bar, behind the bar, by the sink, yes.
And did you take photos of the ping pong table that you said was broken?
Yes, as part of the bar area, I'm
Did
sure.
you take photos of, there was a glass table that was broken too, correct?
A glass table? I don't recall a glass table.
Okay. Did you take photos of all the damage that was around the house?
Probably most of it, yes.
Okay. And the only time you gave those photos to anyone, you're saying, was in the UK case a couple years back?
I'd never shared them with anybody else, yes.
Okay. And it costs about $75,000 to clean up the damage, isn't that right?
I don't know the exact cost. I think I calculated at the time, after all the vendors had been and done their thing, it was about 50,000, I seem to recall.
Okay. Now, you said you flew back to Australia with Ms. Heard, correct?
I didn't fly back with Ms.
I mean,
Heard.
flew back to LA from Australia, thank you, with Ms. Heard, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you were asleep for most of the flight, correct?
For a lot of it, I think it's a 14-hour flight, so I think we both slept for quite a lot of it, yeah.
You were exhausted from the 13 hours you were working on the house, right?
Correct.
All right. And your testimony was that Ms. Heard said to you, have you ever been so angry with someone that you just lost it, correct?
After I'd asked, so, what happened?
But you didn't inquire as to what she was referring to, right?
I mean, by what happened, it was pretty clear what I was referring to.
Let me ask again, you did not inquire as to what she was referring to, did you?
With her answer,
Correct.
she didn't inquire as to my reason for asking, but it was pretty obvious to both of us what I was asking and what her reply was regarding.
You have the copy.
Yes, that's fine, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. King, you testified on behalf of Mr. Depp in the UK, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you provided 2 witness statements, correct?
Correct.
And then you provided testimony in court, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And if you take a look at page 1103 of your testimony, you see how the pages go in 4s?
Yeah. No.
You see it's actually on the
Bottom right?
bottom right, you see that?
Yeah, I got it.
And if you actually look at, you see, starting at the bottom of 1102, this was a statement when you said you did not, you say, Ms. Heard asked you, have you ever been so angry with anyone that you lost it? Your answer, that's correct. And you specifically remember that, do you? Yes. You said it never happened to you. Answer, that is correct. Question, she did not, I mean, if it was said, nothing was said about who she was talking about, was it? Answer, she was asking me a question. Question, she was asking you a question. Answer, yes. Question, you did not inquire as to what she was referring to, did you? I do not recall asking. I know that she was asking for a question and I gave her an answer. You see that?
Yes.
Okay, and that was your testimony you gave in the UK 2 years ago, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't know what Ms. Heard was talking about when she made that statement, correct? You don't know if she was inquiring, that she was making that statement about Mr. Depp, right?
Like I said, I'd asked the question, what happened, referring to the house, and she gave me that answer. So I think we were both, it was pretty clear to both of us what we were talking about. I mean,
And then you went to sleep.
at that point.
And then you went to sleep, and then you had the flight the rest of the time.
Sometime after that, yeah.
Okay. Now, and you said you saw Miss Heard with cuts on her arm, is that right? On the
That's
flight?
right, towards the end of the flight, yeah.
Okay. If we could put up 376G. Do you recognize this picture?
I've not seen this picture before.
Were these the cuts? Did you see cuts like this on Miss Heard?
Is that Miss Heard?
Why don't we put up 376C? Do you recognize the person in that picture?
That's Miss Heard.
All right. And did you see cuts like that which are on her left arm?
Similar to that, long, like I described earlier, long, thin cuts, pretty uniform cuts.
These were the the cuts were like this on her kind of wrist, forearm area, is that right?
I don't know what the date of this photograph is, but they look pretty uniform like they do here, yes.
Okay. I'd like to enter 376C into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
Okay,
I don't.
376C in evidence.
What's that?
Nope, no, you can't change it.
And can we put back up 376G? Seeing 376C, is this consistent with the scratches on 376G? Are these consistent with the scratches you saw on Miss Heard?
I don't see a date. Is that the same time? Is that the same date?
Oh,
my
my question is, are the scratches similar to what you saw on Miss Heard?
These are uniform, kind of long, thin scratches, yes.
I'd like to enter
scratches.
376G into evidence.
Any objection?
I mean, Foundation, he hasn't authenticated the document through this witness.
I mean, I'm just asking if the pictures are consistent with
I'll
what he's...
allow it 376G in evidence.
And can you publish it, please?
It is.
Thank you. Okay. Now, you were in the house, you said, for 12 to 13 hours on March 8th, 2015, correct?
Correct, going into March 9th, 2015.
Okay. And you spoke to Mr. Judge when you were in the house, correct?
I had interaction with Mr. Judge, yes.
And you had interaction with Dr. Kipper when you were in the house, correct?
Correct.
And you had interaction with Debbie Lloyd when you're in the house, correct?
Yes, briefly.
Okay. And isn't it true that in the entire time you were there, you were not informed as to what caused damage to Mr. Depp's finger on March 8th?
Objection, hearsay.
I'm asking what he wasn't told.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
You didn't know what could cause damage to Mr. Depp's hand while you were there on March 8th, correct?
Dr. Kipper had told me he'd sustained an injury on one of his fingers.
Objection, hearsay.
Wait, you asked the question.
Oh,
Next question.
okay. You said he sustained an injury to his finger,
Yes,
but you don't know what caused the injury to his finger.
one of
correct?
his fingers.
But you don't know you don't know how his finger was injured,
I
correct?
don't think anybody mentioned it to me at that time.
Right, no one mentioned it to you at that time, correct?
I don't
Same objection, Your Honor,
recall.
hearsay.
Sorry, I'll allow it. Next question. He answered it.
Now, you understand that there was a phone in the house that was recording during the cleanup, correct?
Sorry, I didn't hear all of that.
Did you come to understand that there was a phone in the house that was recording as people were cleaning up?
At that time, no.
But you now know that there was a phone that was recording people as they were cleaning up, correct?
Objection, foundation, hearsay.
I'm not asking for particular statements.
That's fine. I'll allow it if he knows.
I believe that came up somewhere later on. At that time, I wasn't aware, but I believe I became aware of it later, yes.
Okay. I would like to put up defendant's 378. It's a recording, and I want to play a couple of times. 12:07 through 13:19.
Is that the only segment you wish to have?
And then I would also I'd also like to play 1951 through 21:38.
And is this going to be used again, or is this,
I think it would be A.
okay, 378A, any objection to 378A?
Yes, Your Honor, we do have an objection. I believe this is a recording that has the voices of people other than Ms. Hurd and Mr. Depp, and on that basis, it's hearsay.
Okay.
Unless I'm incorrect about which document we're talking about.
Can we
Sure.
Excuse me, sorry about that. Going back to the photos that you took for a moment of that damage in the house. You recall giving that testimony?
Yes.
Okay. Did Mr. Depp ask you for the photos?
No.
Did you give the photos to counsel for Mr. Depp?
Some of them, yes. Yeah.
Did you withhold any photos from Mr. Depp or his counsel?
Didn't withhold any photos from anybody. I didn't withhold.
Did you give all of the photos you have on your phone to Mr. Depp and his counsel?
Not all of the photos on my phone, no.
To Mr. Depp and his counsel?
I don't believe I gave all of the photos.
Why not?
Because there are a decent amount of them. I mean...
So you picked and chose what photos you were going to give to Mr. Depp and his counsel?
I gave an amount of photos to them.
Do you know how many photos you gave to Mr. Depp and his counsel?
I don't know precisely, no.
Okay. Could you give an estimate as to how many photos you gave?
I really can't. No, an amount. I don't recall how many.
More than 3?
Yes.
More than 10?
Possibly more than 10. Yeah, maybe.
Between 10 and 20?
Objection.
Possible.
Speculation
I mean,
hasn't been answered.
Overruled, I'll allow it.
Do you know?
Sorry,
She overruled you.
oh, okay. Possibly more than 10. Yeah,
But somewhere between 10 and 20, is that right?
possibly. I honestly don't know.
Could it be more than 20?
I don't think so.
Did Mr. Depp's counsel ask for all the photos?
I don't recall.
You don't recall one way or the other what they asked for?
I gave them some photos. I don't recall how many were asked for, requested.
And those were requested in 2020?
Correct. Prior to
the UK
that, yes.
trial? Did they ask for them in this case?
I believe I supplied some for this case also, yeah.
You supplied photos for this case to Mr. Depp's counsel?
I believe I did.
Okay. And was that about the between 10 and 20 photos that you're talking about?
I don't remember how many for this.
But it was the same amount of photos that you gave to the Mr. Depp's counsel in the UK?
I don't know if it was the same amount. I don't recall.
Did Mr. Depp's counsel in this case ask for all the photos you had of the damage of March 8th, 2015?
All of the photos? I don't think they requested all of the photos.
They didn't ask for all the photos you had of that damage?
I don't know if they requested them all.
Okay. Was it Mr. Waldman who asked you for the photos?
Originally, I don't remember who called it. Shillings. Were they,
Did Mr. Waldman ever ask you for the photos?
I don't know if he asked me specifically. If he was part of that team, I assume so.
And you spoke to Mr. Waldman, is that right?
I did a couple of years ago, yeah.
Okay, and he was part of the team that was asking for the evidence you had of what occurred in Australia in 2015, is that right?
He was part of that team as I understood it, yeah.
Okay, and as part of that team, he and others were asking for photos from Australia from March 8th, 2015, is that right?
They requested them at some point, some of them.
And that's when you provided the 10 to 20 photos, is that right?
The photos, correct.
Okay, and then was there a separate counsel that asked you for the photos in this case?
Yes.
There was?
Yeah, I mean, it was essentially the same.
Who was it that asked you for photos in this case?
I don't recall a name specifically.
Was it a man or a woman?
I don't, I just, part of the team, I don't recall.
Okay. And when did they make that request?
When? I don't know a date. I don't know specifically.
You know what year?
This year, last year? I mean, prior to this, obviously.
So it could have been in 2022 that they asked you for the photos?
I think it was prior to that. I don't recall.
So maybe late 2021 or early 2022, is that what you're saying?
I honestly don't recall which part of the year.
But it's either 2021 or 2022, is that right?
I would imagine that's probably correct.
Okay. And you gave them some of the photos you had?
As I just said, yes.
Okay, but not all of them.
Correct.
So do you have more than 10 to 20 photos on your phone of the damage that occurred in Australia?
Again, I don't recall the amount.
But you have a larger amount on your phone than what you provided to Mr. Depp's counsel, is that right?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered, cumulative.
I'll sustain the objection, it was asked and answered.
Okay. Going to London for a couple minutes. You didn't live at the house in London, correct?
I didn't live there, correct.
Okay. Do you know if Miss Heard had friends over to the house in London?
She did. They came to stay. Yes.
And they stayed from September 9th through September 22nd, 2014, correct?
I don't remember the duration, but that's possible.
Okay. And they were literally staying at the house, correct?
They were accommodated at the house, correct.
Right. And so you don't know who was drinking the bottles of wine that were brought into the house, correct?
At which point, what do you mean?
When Miss Heard's friends were there, you don't know who was drinking the wine.
Oh, they were all enjoying the wine, for sure.
They were all drinking the wine.
I took care of them as I would take care of any guests that came into any house.
And wasn't it 5 to 7 guests that were at the house with Miss Heard?
I don't remember the number. It sounds about right.
Okay, and then at the end of the night, there was 1 or 2 bottles of wine finished, right?
When Mr. Depp and Miss Heard were there on their own, there was certainly that amount, yes.
But do you know how many, you don't know how many bottles were there when it was Miss Heard and her friends, correct?
I would say more.
You don't know, but you don't know one way or the other, right?
I don't recall the count, but certainly more than when there were just 2 of them in the house, because there were 7 extra people or 5 people.
But you don't know the count?
Precisely, no, I don't.
And do you know how much time Miss Heard was in London with Mr. Depp, not with her friends?
A fair amount of that time.
What
I don't recall days, no, I don't recall.
So they were there for a month, correct?
Thereabouts, yeah.
And I mean, when I say they, Miss Heard and Mr. Depp were in London for about a month, right?
Correct, around about a month.
And wasn't it true that for about 2 to 3 weeks, Miss Heard's friends were also staying in London?
I don't think 2 or 3 weeks. I don't recall, but I don't think it was that long.
You don't know one way or the other, right?
I don't think it was that long.
But you don't have anything to base that on, right? Just what your memory is saying?
Correct.
Okay. And you don't know what happened in London when you weren't there, correct?
You mean after I'd left of an evening?
Yeah.
Usually the chef was there still when I left each evening, Russell, who would take care of dinner and leave later each night.
And then after the chef left, you don't know what happened in the house, correct?
I wasn't there.
Right. And you don't know for certain whether Mr. Depp drank wine or not in London, right?
I don't believe so. There's usually, when it was just the 2 of them in the house, there was usually only 1 glass in the morning, either on the kitchen sink or on the bedside stand in the master bedroom.
But you don't know who drank from that. You don't know who drank from that glass when you weren't there, right?
When I wasn't there, correct. But when I usually left the house, I'd already poured Miss Heard a glass of wine before I left, invariably.
But once you left, you don't know if Mr. Depp drank wine or not, correct?
I wasn't there after I left.
Okay. And you don't know what started the fights you talked about in London, correct? Other than that one you said you heard about her hand.
The second one that I described, I was in the vicinity. I heard the first comment of this. That was the start of that argument.
And you don't actually know if there was an argument before what you heard, right?
That evening, I didn't hear another one. I'll put it that way. It started in that room as I described earlier.
And you don't know what happened in Australia also between March 5th and March 8th, correct?
The 6th, I left on Friday the 6th was when I left for the weekend.
Okay, so between Friday the 6th and when you got to the house on March 8th, you don't know what happened?
No, I wasn't there.
Okay. And you never saw Miss Heard be violent at any time, right?
Sorry, say again.
You never saw Miss Heard be violent at any time, correct?
Beyond sort of finger prodding and violence, I didn't see either of them be violent towards each other.
You never saw Miss Heard be violent at any time, right?
I didn't see her be violent, depending on your...
I can show you a witness statement where you said you never saw Miss Heard be violent at any time.
Okay, violence, yes, I didn't see violence per se.
All right, thank you. I have nothing further.
All right, redirect.
Thank you.
Mr. King, have you ever been employed by Mr. Depp?
No.
So in each of these situations where you've been around Mr. Depp, you've always been employed by somebody else?
Correct.
All right, I'll sustain as to leading, I'll strike the answer. Next question.
Are you based anywhere other than the UK? Where do you live?
I live in central London.
Have you ever lived anywhere else?
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
We heard some discussion on Cross about photos, which I suspect you remember. Why did you take the photos of the property damage in Australia?
As I do, and a lot of my jobs in various assignments and jobs through the years, I take photos as points of reference for whatever reason. I mean, if I'm packing suitcases up and they're going to be in transit and I'm not with the suitcases, I'll take a picture of contents and when I send stuff so I know it's gone and what's gone. I take pictures as points of reference. I sometimes take pictures of table settings that I've done or which I know I can use later on as reference.
Were the photos of property damage in Australia the first photos that you had taken in the course of working with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard?
Objection leading.
All right, I'll sustain as to leading. Next question.
Had you ever taken photos before?
Yes.
What kinds of things had you taken photos of?
In London, reference points and dinner table settings. Sometimes Mr. Depp would write notes for Ms. Heard. He'd leave notes on the sort of kitchen table when he left for work. I believe I took pictures of those. They were, there, things like that. Just setups of, once I set up houses, it's always good to take photos of rooms so I can cross-reference later on if I need to.
Did Ms. Heard or her counsel ever ask you for photos of any of the photos you took in Australia?
No.
I'll sustain as to leading. Next question.
Can I see Plaintiff's Exhibit 159? And I think this is a multi-page document. Can you scroll through? I think we have 3 pages here. Mr. King, do you recognize this document?
Yes, it's the floor plan of the house in Australia.
And do you recall on cross-examination you were asked to kind of describe where some of the property damage was?
Yes.
So right now on the screen in front of you,
Yep.
Which floor would you say this is?
This is the top floor with the master suite and 2 other bedrooms.
Okay. And I believe counsel asked you if there was blood in one of the bathrooms or one of the bathtubs. Do you recall that?
Yes, they did ask that.
Would that have been on this floor?
I think they were referring to the master tub. I think that's what he said.
Okay. So can you mark on the screen where that would have been?
The master tub? It's over here. Can I just dot it? How
I
does
think
that
you just
work?
dotted, yes.
Okay, so that looks like the master tub to me.
And just to clarify, did you recall seeing any blood or damage there?
In the tub, no.
Okay. Can you mark for us on the screen where you did see the damage that was discussed on cross?
The mirrors, can I dab on here again?
Sure.
Yeah, so these are the sinks. The two mirrors were above each, the mirror above each sink.
Okay. Can we scroll up to the page prior? And can you point out for us on this page, well, first of all, which floor is this?
This is the main level floor, essentially the second floor if you want.
Okay. And can you point out for us here on this map which of the, where the property damage was?
Yes. How many dabs am I allowed? Around here, kitchen area. This was the TV, the wall-mounted TV on, I ran out of dabs.
And I apologize, actually, Your Honor, can we move this into evidence?
Any objection to 159?
No objection.
All right, 159 in evidence.
Can we publish this to the jury?
Okay.
So, Mr. King, I apologize for interrupting you. So you were just pointing out where on the, I think this is the second floor?
Yes, essentially the main level, yeah.
Okay, so other than these three dots, do you recall any other places where there was damage?
Yes, where it says family room, there was the TV was wall mounted on that wall in between family and lounge. The sofa was approximately where you've got the red square, red rectangle now, facing towards the TV. The lounge, as you, sorry, too quick. The lounge was essentially the art studio. And the bedrooms over to the left there, where the lamp, damaged lamp and shade, blood on the duvet, etc. that I described.
Okay, and then let's go to the first page. And which floor is this?
This is the lower ground floor.
Okay, and can you point out for us, did you find the finger on this floor?
Correct.
Can you point out to us where you found the finger?
Yes, I can. Right here. Ah, there we go. It's the end of the bar. It was on the tiled floor below that end of the bar.
Okay, and any other significant property damage that you want to point out on this floor?
Yes, as I said, this was the, can I dab again? Yeah, so that was the most part of the broken glass. That's where the Stolichnaya bottle was, below that bar by the bar stools. There were 3 bar stools that you could sit at there. On this back wall here, there was plaster damage. Over here above the sink, or to the side of the sink, was more plaster damage on the walls. Behind the bar, that mirror was cracked, broken. Ping pong table was around there, collapsed on the floor. And around those 3 dots there, I'm going to put another one. That was the spillages as well, that smelt like alcohol to me, the puddles of alcohol.
Is that it?
I mean, that was the most part of the damage around that area, in front of the bar especially. There was, I mean, as I said, there were blood drips around that white cream-colored tiled floor in the games room. And this is the staircase down. It was this side that the chip was out of the stone step. And if I can get another dab in there, right about in the center of that bar, the chunk out of the side of the counter, bar top.
Okay.
Who wouldn't like to improve their website conversion rates? especially when you...
How many exits are there on the ground floor?
Well, all of these were exits, all these, my office was off over here. I think you can just see out, it says study, big glass sliding door. The gym had an exit up here. This went into the garage. There was a button you could press for the automatic doors to come up. The laundry area, which is right here, this is actually an exit out into the yard, essentially. The gym, all of those rooms had an exit.
Okay. Other than Mr. Depp's counsel, did anybody else ever ask to see your photos?
I'll allow it.
No.
All right. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, is this witness subject to recall? All right, sir, since you're subject to recall, it's important that you do not discuss your testimony with anybody and do not pay attention to the trial and don't watch anything about the trial, okay?
Of course.
All right, thank you.
Certainly.
All right, you can step down, sir. Yes, ma'am?
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that comes to the end of our day, so we're going to excuse you for the evening. Again, do not do any outside research and don't talk to anybody, and we'll see you tomorrow morning, okay? Have a good evening. All right, thank you. All right, and I just have one housekeeping matter. We're going through the exhibits you gave me this morning. Thank you again for that. But one of them was 485, and I have in my notes that it was 485A, just the first page, but you gave me all 8 pages. Have you both agreed that all 8 pages of this document come in, or is that something that, should I give 485 back and you can try again to give it back to me tomorrow? Okay. All right, I'll give that back to you, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. All right, thank you. All right, and are we going to start with a remote witness tomorrow? Is that going to be your first witness? All right, make sure she's signed on by 9:40 so we can have it all set up for 10 o'clock start, okay? All right.